Hey guys, thanks for stopping by for another episode here at All I See Is W. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you the latest updates around the Bitcoin market. We'll be covering the latest news with what's going on all around the world with Bitcoin. We'll also be talking about technical analysis, price predictions for Bitcoin strategy, and the big three Bitcoin miners using technical analysis and forecasting price predictions for the rest of the year 2025. Most of you are wondering, how high can Bitcoin really go in this cycle? Uh, is it going to go to 150? Is it going to go to 200 or even more to 250K? And what does that mean for companies like Strategy and the big three miners? We'll cover all of that. But first off, if you're new to this channel, I would really appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing, really trying to get to that milestone of 10,000 subscribers. Not too far away, but we'll get there. Thank you guys for your support. Let's begin. Let's first look at a post from Cryptos R Us. I highly recommend following Cryptos R Us. He posts Bitcoin cycle repeat model. So we'll look at this visual, but this chart map Bitcoin's current cycle against the last one using the 1,458 days from the previous halving to cycle top. If history rhymes, Bitcoin could be on track for a new peak above 269,000 by late 2025. So, with that last, having cycle top at 67,000, if we follow that same performance from the last Bitcoin bull run, where we currently are with the actual price represented in this red line, if we follow that same performance, we're going to hit that top of like 269,000. Will history repeat itself? We may very well get very close or even further beyond that. Who knows? Only time will tell. Here at Archive posts, BlackRock buys more and more Bitcoin. They just purchased another 6,088 Bitcoin. They now hold 680,330 Bitcoin, marking new all-time highs for holdings. In fact, way higher than Strategy right now. Strategy, getting close to that, 600,000, but they're not quite there yet. BlackRock has a big, cash reserve, so they're able to buy Bitcoin at, large numbers. And Fidelity, they're catching up to BlackRock. I mean, getting, close to 300,000, but still far away from what BlackRock and MSTR strategy holds. Bitcoin News posts Bitcoin is now 1.3% of the global money. So as of March 2025. So when you put this into perspective, fiat money, there's about $108 trillion in the market. That equates to like 83% of all the money supply. Hard money, you have like $22 trillion. So you can think of hard money as like Bitcoin and gold. So gold is like the number one, asset right now, the best asset class. Bitcoin, they're up and running. They're at 1.7 trillion. At one point, they will front run and bypass, the gold hard money. But look at the, fiat money right now all around the world. You have the Chinese yuan, US dollar, euro, Japanese yen and others. At one point, this yellow orange block is just going to be exponentially increasing. And with the forecast from what Saylor's forecasting, over the course of the next 20 years, Bitcoin will appreciate by about 30%, getting to like $13 million per Bitcoin by 2045. That just tells you this bar right here, Bitcoin, will eventually be like the next big thing when we look at it from years down the line with the global money supply. Archive post is Texas Governor Greg Abbott has 6 days left to sign the strategic Bitcoin reserve into law. This is going to be very big. Obviously, we know Texas is a big state, similar to like California when it comes to like GDP output. As soon as we hear SBR officially enacted into law, this demonstrates that one of the biggest states in the United States signs SBR into law, allowing for the state to buy Bitcoin to combat, inflation, tax. This is going to be a big global shift, along for states in the United States to really follow through with, ramping up, getting to that SBR approval. So this will be very big news and will definitely generate lots of upside, at least for companies in the mining industry. Will there be government incentives for the state to buy from the miners that are mining in the state of Texas? And what if there's going to be like energy credits? So definitely some opportunity that we'll see as soon as we hear about this update coming in the next week or so. Trump posts today that the Senate just passed an incredible bill that is going to make America the undisputed leader in digital assets. Nobody will do it better. It is pure genius. Digital assets are the future, and our nation is going to own it. We are talking about massive investment and big innovation. The House will hopefully move lightning fast and pass a clean genius act. Get it to my desk ASAP. No delays, no add-ons. This is American brilliance at its best, and we are going to show the world how to win with digital assets like never before. Let's go, Trump. And he, at one point alluded to the United States will become the powerhouse of crypto and AI. This is how he's getting to that conviction. First off, enacting the Genius Bill, and definitely some huge milestone achievement with this being passed. We take a look at this post. It would be hilarious if MSTR just teleported to 400 tomorrow and 450 by the end of the week and 500 by the end of the month, right after everyone and their grandma rotated 100% out of strategy into these smaller plays. The most hilarious outcome is often the most likely. So what's going to happen, in the remaining weeks of June? Are we going to see some huge coiled upspring run up for strategy? Time will tell in the next coming days. Here's an interesting post from Jason with this visual. What is going on right now? So you see this long line, everyone getting onto that, Meta Planet, hype with everyone wanting to buy Meta Planet, shares. I mean, they're doing a wonderful job stacking sats right now at 11,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Definitely an exciting stock in the Japan market, and also gathering a lot of new investors all around the world. But you have the mining sector. A lot of people are thinking that the mining sector is the old sector. The new sector would be the Bitcoin treasury companies that are buying Bitcoin. But it's only going to be a matter of time until we start seeing the money flow go into the miners once they start running. Because once the miners run, it runs very fast, and that's when FOMO kicks in, and the herd will get in at much higher premium prices. Let's take a look at this post. So this is Mara's global Bitcoin mining machine. So Mara has like a 1.7 gigawatts mining capacity around 4 continents with 15 data centers. So at the core of what Mara does, part of their business is, they're using that analogy of having a turbocharged two-pronged approach where not only are they mining Bitcoin, but they also have the ability to buy Bitcoin as well. So that turbocharged capacity, ramping up hash rate, improving fleet efficiency, also using convertible notes to buy Bitcoin, which allows for them to turbocharge up to getting close to 50,000 Bitcoins on their balance sheet. So you see purchase energy cost per Bitcoin, you know, around that range of like 40,000 for Bitcoin. Definitely huge upside when you look at where the current price of Bitcoin is. So when you think about this, it's really fueling the Bitcoin treasury growth through capital acquisition. So one of the interesting things as we look at Bitcoin treasury company strategy, purely bought all Bitcoins early on at different cost prices with now an average of 70,000 for Bitcoin. Mara, you see half of the Bitcoin was mined, half of the Bitcoin was purchased. So using that turbocharged approach, you have Cantor Fitzgerald, 21 Capital buying, 37,000 Bitcoin with anticipation to buy more. Riot, mainly mining all of the Bitcoin, but also did use, X amount of the convertible notes to buy up Bitcoin in the year 2025. So following that MSTR playbook as well. But downstream, you see CleanSpark, fully pure Bitcoin miner, at 13,000 Bitcoin, definitely ramping up the hash rate. So huge, huge conviction there as well. But what Mara's, from this overall article is that turbocharge, two turbos are better than one, having that approach. So definitely, I think that there's a lot of hate with Mara right now, but I think, what goes down very quick along with all the hate with Mara, things will just switch in reverse and everyone will start loving Mara once the share price is able to prove that. Rex Finance, he posts just in CleanSpark, BTIG reiterates its buy rating and $22 price target. And what BTIG is saying is that given management's focus on Bitcoin mining, we expect CleanSpark to gain hash capacity, market share as other miners pause Bitcoin mining growth in favor of HPC. So, you think about the current price right now at like $9 to $22. That's huge upside. That's about 130% gain from where the current price is. Let's take a look at technical analysis of Bitcoin. So we're looking at Bitcoin on the daily. Obviously we know that, with the prior run up, back in 2024 up through January of this year, it had a big pullback of like, 4 to 5 months. But since then, we broke out of that Ichimoku cloud price action since April 20th. It started climbing back up, getting out of that storm, cloudy Ichimoku cloud. Now it's sunshine and rainbows hovering above the clouds, potentially reaching, new higher levels, reaching, levels that Bitcoin has never reached before, 112,000. But, when are we going to see the next stair climb up? One of the things to consider is now that we're reaching that borderline cloud, it's going to be very important for Bitcoin to, to get out of this. We don't want the price action to hover into the cloud or even below that. That's where you get that gravitational pull down. So just be very cautious looking at this. But overall, I do foresee Bitcoin to, start climbing up into the next level range as we've been in the price range of like, 100,000 for now getting close to 50 days very soon. Let's take a look at strategies, technical analysis on the daily candle. We see another bull flag playing out. Since that long duration of a bull flag, we saw that breakout when Bitcoin started running up. So correlating with how Bitcoin performed, but going from like 220 to like 450, it went up by about 100% from that low top. Granted, it did run up 400% in the year 2024, so we did expect a pullback. But given the fact that now we're hovering in this, new minor bull flag, it's only going to be a matter of time until we have that next leg up as Bitcoin is expected to gap up to 150 to 200, 250,000. We're definitely going to see that coming just with all of the macro updates, ETF creations, treasury companies buying Bitcoin, governments are getting involved, Pakistan, you name it, countries legalizing cryptocurrency like Vietnam, Thailand with, capital gains tax credits. All of that is coming into play, and it's definitely going to be in favor for having an extended bull run, which is what I believe. But overall, MACD, I do think that we're going to start seeing a green formation hill, relative strength in the steady 50. We may very well have relative strength, just shoot up to 70, 80 RSI. Let's take a look at Riot Platforms, Bitcoin miner with 20,000 Bitcoins close to on their balance sheet. We see an inverse head and shoulder. We've been talking about this level one prior resistance. We're beginning to see the price action hover around this level one, which is key as to what we want to see. As we see it, become the new support, flip that switch. That's going to allow for us to climb up to that next level two prior resistance, 1257, which I do foresee that we may very well hit that in the month of June. And once we reach level two, we'll start talking about level three onward. But I definitely do see huge upside with Riot Platforms. I mean, you scale out, you look at like how high this puppy ran like long ago. I mean, it went from like $3 to like $80 in the last bull cycle. So can history repeat itself? Mara, I mean, just looking at Mara on a long-term scale, we see this bullish pennant flag drawn out on the, long duration chart. back in 2021. We see it run up single digits all the way up to like 80. So what has happened since, it's just consistently just hovering in this range. But back in November, around $30, it dropped down to like 980. It's still hovering in this triangle zone, but anything can happen. And once it runs, Mara can definitely have a huge breakout. We saw that RSI, get up to like 79 around that time of like February of 2024. So are we going to see a relative strength, kick up similar to what we saw during November where it got to 66? It's going to be very possible because we haven't seen an RSI breakout for so long now. So I do see that, from a technical analysis, it's just a volcano awaiting to erupt. Take a look at CleanSpark. So CleanSpark, technical analysis looks very healthy as well. Obviously we see an inverse head and shoulders, MACD formation. We're beginning to see more green vertical candles, relative strength, in the steady, zone of, the bulls are trying to fight right now to push the price action up at 47. Once we start seeing it rise to 50, 55 into the 60 zone, that's going to correlate with an increase in the MACD price action. We want to see it, test that level one resistance. It's just behind compared to other miners, but once it starts running, volume's going to increase, and then we may very well have this level two. I'm thinking sometime in, you know, at, at the earliest, late June, most likely in July. But definitely we'll see 15 and 25 in the year 2025. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed my overall assessment, just sharing with you Bitcoin updates. We talked about technical analysis of Bitcoin, strategy, and the big three miners. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below what your thoughts are, what your predictions are, and where you're watching from. Thanks, and please make sure to subscribe. Thank you, guys.